All right, so talk about all the different types of tricep extensions today. We have a ton of different options. This is one of my favorite ones where we actually lean forward on a pad. This is something I don't see talked about particularly much, but I do think is a really good one to do. So the main idea is that when doing tricep extensions, we have a few things that can cause problems with our stability. Obviously, we have sort of anchoring our rear delt in place. A lot of people aren't really able to do that very well. So that could serve as a problem for some people. I like the idea of having a pad like this because you can actually lean forward, you'd actually wrap your hand around it, and then when you extend and you come down, you're actually a little bit better at keeping, your delts kind of in place where you're not lurching forward and then you're not hyperextending back. You're keeping everything nice and fixed, so you're able to get a really good even extension. And again, the thing you want to look for with any tricep exercise is that the actual orientation of the joint of the tricep here is in line with the cable. So you want to make sure that if you're extending, you're not like janking out or like janking in with the cable, because that is going to make it a little more uncomfortable. So I actually found that sometimes grabbing the opposing side on something like this, where you'll grab the right side for the left arm and then extending, and you'll see it makes a nice straight line. It's nice and parallel with where you're extending, and that kind of thing is actually very comfortable and it's been very effective for me. So you do have the option of leaning forward on the pad and kind of doing like a crossbody kind of format. And remember, if you're really far flexed, so we have a lot of shoulder extension or a flexion forward here, this is gonna be more medial and lateral head of the tricep. You're not gonna be able to get that long head as well. So if you are trying to get all three heads of the triceps, like perhaps putting this first in an upper day or something like that, the best thing I would suggest is keeping your shoulder nice and fixed so you're able to get all three heads of the tricep. So we'll get into a few more options here in a second. And now on to our next set of tricep options. We have anything facing the stack. So there are a couple different ways to do this, a couple different ways I like to do it. Now I have a Vulcan grip here. This is my own here. I bought this, but it's like 20 bucks, it's pretty good. And essentially there are a million different ways to do this, obviously, and it really depends on what you're biasing, what your goal is, and what's most comfortable. So I would say the comfort thing probably comes first. Being super comfortable with how you do your tricep extensions pretty much outweighs anything else. You could say, oh, this is technically more lengthened position biased or more shortened position biased or whatever else. It is valid to consider that based on how the cable's coming down. So that is valid. It's not something worth sweating. So for example, when we look at the cable here, right, when we're extending, where that 90-degree angle is occurring, like right here, you guys see how there's a 90-degree angle here between the weight here, obviously, and my arm here, that is gonna be where it's hardest. So as I come back down, it's gonna get a little easier, and then right around here, when we have this 90-degree angle, that is the longest moment arm from my joint to the weight here. So that's something we're gonna wanna think about. It's not make or break, because again, ultimately an extension is gonna hit all three heads of the tricep regardless. So that's not something worth worrying about. It's just something to keep in mind, to keep it sort of on the back burner. So we have a bunch of different ways to do this. Sometimes you can lean forward, you can lean into the stack. I've seen people do that where they lean forward and sort of lean into the stack and they just extend down like that. That's an option, that's a fine way to do it. I just personally don't do it that often. It's not something I really do. It turns into more like a kickback, almost at a point where you have a hard time stabilizing the shoulder and all that. So I'm just not a huge fan of doing that. It's not like it's the end of the world. It's not something I'm a huge fan of. And then the way I would normally do this, if I was facing the stack, and this has kind of been my favorite as of recently, is moving a little bit out to the left, grabbing like a handle here or something like this, and just extending. So I have a nice bit of tension here, and it feels really comfortable and really nice. And that's pretty much it. So there are a bunch of different ways to do this. Obviously, if we took the Vulcan off and we did it with only the ball here, the amount of weight we're gonna be able to use is gonna be much less, because obviously there is significantly more tension here without the Vulcan grip. So you guys will see as I come down, I'm not gonna be able to use nearly as much weight by using only the ball. And that's an option for some. That makes my elbow kind of cranky, so I don't like to do that. Then of course you have what a lot of people have done, where they use the back support. So for example, you'll come in here, right, and you'll use this as a back support. And I've ran this for a long time. I really like this as well. But essentially coming in here, using the pole to support your rear delt, getting your whole body dug in and just extending out. This is like a really nice option as well. I did this with TNF when we were in Houston at Alpha Land. I did that with him as well. So that's a really cool option. And essentially it is all just maneuvering and configuring the cable in a bunch of different ways to make it as comfortable and progressively overloadable, if that's a word, as you can. So those are your options for triceps. Of course, let me know what you guys like down below. And of course, coaching, all those things down below as well in the description. Thank you guys for watching.